Okay. We'll call the meeting to order at this time, and I believe we do have a quorum, and we've got a few online. So, okay. First off, do we have has everybody looked at the agenda? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the agenda for today?
Teresa Cheek at large. I'll make that motion.
Okay, and a second.
Roland Rainey at large.
Okay, we have a
Second.
motion and a second. I don't think anybody wants to discuss it, but say so if you do. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, we've got an agenda. Okay, approval of the minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at those? And online, is there any comments? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
Marley Foster, El Paso County. I move.
Okay, any discussion, changes? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. So we have that part done. Okay. Public comments. Jared, I go to you first. Is there anyone online?
So I'll ask anyone who's online who is not a member of the CAC to please use the raise hand function. Let us know if they'd like to make a public comment. While we're waiting that, anyone in the audience who'd like to do the same can go to the podium. We did not receive any advance requests for public comment, and we did not receive any written public comment that we would distribute to the committee in advance. I do not see any hands raised, and no one is going to the podium. So, Mr. Chair, I think we can move forward at your discretion.
Okay. Well, I was hoping John would get up and fill us with some wisdom, but I guess not. Okay. We're moving along too fast here. Action items. We have the CAC officer vote for next year. Danelle, unless I'm mistaken, since we've got people online, there's no point doing a ballot because we're going to know how they're voting, so they may as well know how we're voting here.
Yes, that's correct. Unless it's controversial for some reason, we generally just do a voice vote.
Okay. And do you want me to handle that at this point, or?
Sure, if you'd like to, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. First off, we need a motion for next year's chairman, and all CAC members are eligible. Oh, Kathy.
I'd like to nominate Roland Rainey for chair.
Okay. Roland, would you accept? Haven't had a vote yet, but make sure you're willing.
Well, I definitely accept that nomination. Thank you.
Okay. And do we have any other nominations? Any online? Well, just so that we get a count, we'll have a vote at this time. All in favor of Roland, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? So Roland is our unanimous chair for next year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And since I'm 2 months behind on doing that, he's going to have to double up. Okay. At this time, we have nomination for vice chair for next year. Kathy again.
Kathy Heisey Callahan. I nominate Ed Dills for vice chair.
Okay. I'd be glad to help Welling if nobody else is nominated and gets it. Okay. Is there any other nominations? Any online? I'm seeing none. Okay, we'll close the nominations at this point since I'm not hearing anymore. All in favor of me, I guess. Say aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope, just rolling. No. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll be glad to work with you, Roland. That'd be fun. Only in the absence. Okay, we have one more position. It would be second vice chair for next year. And you're the official nominator today, Kath.
Once again, Kathy Heisey Callahan, I'd like to nominate Tyler Peoples for second, second vice. Is that the
Are you,
official title?
that's the official title, yes. Are you willing to accept that?
I am willing to accept that.
Okay. Is there any other nominations? Seeing none online. So we will close nominations and all in favor of Tyler, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great. Roland, we'll have to skip the first meeting and let Tyler carry it. No. Yes, Kathy.
I'd like to just take a minute and express appreciation for the current leadership. I know that you, Ed, and Welling and Miley have taken the roles and been faithful to serve in those roles. And it is an extra commitment and more responsibility. And I presume speaking for the board, but certainly for myself, I do appreciate the extra effort that it takes to serve in those positions.
Well, thank you. And I was grateful to learn from Miley and for those of you that don't know, Welling's away today. He has more treatment on his eyes, so he was unable to be here today. So, okay. And thank you again. Yeah, that was easy. We've had some where it takes a little while. Okay. Well, that part's done, Danielle.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you to everyone who served this year and the previous year. And look forward to the new leadership in January.
And I personally appreciate all that Welling did to help out when I had all that was going on in my family and life last year. So very good. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Is Jess on the line?
She is actually off today, so I will introduce this item.
Okay.
Actually, Jeff Guthrie will be speaking to it, but this is an information item regarding the Regional Priority Program funding allocations, specifically for fiscal year 2029. And Jeff from CDOT Region 2 is here to kind of answer any questions and give you an overview on that information item.
Thanks, Danelle. Is that my cue?
That's your cue. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you all. Apologies for me not being there in person today on a beautiful sunny Friday afternoon, at least here in Pueblo. There's not much of an update. Every year we go to our 5 planning partners, our 2 metropolitan planning organizations, and our 3 rural transportation planning regions around CDOT Region 2, which is the 14 counties of southeastern Colorado, like the bottom right corner of the state on the map. And every year we go to them, excuse me, and present just like this the next outer fiscal year's allocation of this Regional Priorities Program funding. Regional Priorities Program, RPP funding, is a very limited amount. For the past at least decade, if not more, it's averaged about 50 million statewide. And so the allocation to Region 2 is based on a formula that is set by the Transportation Commission, the governor's appointed governing body of CDOT. And that distribution formula is based upon, a number of factors such as vehicle miles traveled and lane miles on system. And then that RPP distribution to each of the CDOT engineering regions is then further suballocated to our planning partners, in this case, you all, the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments, MPO area. And then this table, thank you so much for showing this. This table shows a little short history going back to, let me take off my glasses, going back to 2016, thank you, of the RPP allocations on an annual basis to the Pikes Peak region. And then it has a list of projects, project descriptions, and then identifying numbers in our programming document where you can actually see the proof of these funding amounts being spent on the respective projects. That was a very long introduction to basically telling you all that in fiscal year 2029, the Pikes Peak area is not being allocated an RPP amount. That being said, in the included memo in your packet, we've detailed that in the history of the RPP allocations, at least going back to, I think I called out fiscal year 22, I think it was, going back to that, we do track a rolling average of each of those annual allocations. And our targeted allocation based on that Transportation Commission formula of RPP funding distributions, the targeted, as that says, for your region is just under 41%. And then I've noted in that sentence or prior in that sentence that fiscal year 22 through up to 30 shows that excuse me, Pikes Peak is being allocated just under that targeted 41% at 39.4-ish. And so we are, despite that, nothing in 2029. If you look at the attached table, you will see that the amounts do this from year to year, and it's not just you all's region. It really is that way across the state, in fact, if you were to look. So the purpose of this being an informational item, we have to, of course, in good faith, go through the processes that each of our planning partners has in place, and that includes coming to not just the Citizens Advisory Committee, but this has been shown in addition to the Transportation Advisory Committee. Sorry, gonna mess up my acronyms, and then it'll go to your board of directors. And then to follow all of this up, we gather a representative from each of our 5 planning partners, the aforementioned 3 rural TPRs and the 2 metropolitan planning organizations. We gather up a representative from each of those 5 in late January, probably early February, to all sit together in the, I guess, the electronic room. And everybody gets to review everybody else's Region 2 wide RPP allocations for the years that we're approving. In this case, it'll be fiscal year 29. And then everybody agrees, yes, this sounds great. Everybody can ask any questions that they want. Hopefully there won't be too many at that point because we've gone through these processes. And then once we get that final approval, this is done. And we will program this out in our 4-year statewide transportation improvement program and the MPO's TIP transportation improvement program to reflect these allocations. Thank you for that long-winded explanation, and I do welcome any questions if anybody has any.
Is Chris's hand raised? Yes, Chris, go ahead, please.
Hi, this is Chris Crockett with Kono. Thank you for the presentation. I just have sort of a weird question. The table includes a column for future funds. What could that encompass?
So it's really a column that we include for our own planning purposes. It is not, unfortunately, a column that would indicate any unforeseen future funds coming this way.
That cover for you, Chris?
Thank you.
And it's really for our own, sorry, it's for our own, not really horse trading, but our own sitting around the room with our program engineers planning out future allocations on what different projected infrastructure needs we think that this limited funding can be spent on. I hope that answers that question.
Okay, sort of. I wonder how clean your crystal ball is, but I applaud you for trying to use it. Thank you.
At this point, we're projecting this out just based on, as I said, that at least decade-long average of what we have seen allocated to the entire state from the Transportation Commission and the federal funding that we do get.
Gary has a question. Go ahead, Gary. Did we lose him? Well, while we wait for Gary to come back on, I have a question that's not directly related to this. I had a question that was brought up yesterday when we had a ribbon cutting out in Falcon. Uh, what year is the Highway 24 Falcon improvement slated for? I know they were for next year, but then they were moved to 27. And I don't have an answer to take back and give to the constituents out there.
I am trying to very quickly look that up on my end, so I do not give you the wrong answer. Bear with me. Sorry that I'm making you all wait.
Yeah, and it's the Garrett to Judge Orr area.
Right. Because I remember. Sorry, everybody's waiting on me. All right. Come on.
Threw you a curveball.
I can say that in the tip, we have funding allocated for 2025.
I was of the understanding that that money was transferred to the Powers Bridges and Airport
Right.
and I believe Fountain. And so it was delayed. And that's why I didn't have an answer yesterday when it was brought up to me.
Got it.
Right. That was the wheeling and dealing so that we could address just what Mr. Chair said in the meantime. So let's see. RPP funding. Sorry, I'm looking at a really complicated engineer spreadsheet, and I myself am not an engineer, so
Okay.
bear with me. So I'm still showing some funding, as Danelle said, reserved in 2025, fiscal year 2025, which is now for us, and then fiscal year 2026. I also, if I go back to this engineer's summary of the funding, am seeing more, since we have some strategic funding plan for that, which is assorted pots of state revenue. And that is, bear with me, please.
I was going to say, to save your time, if you want to find something and send it to Danelle. Yeah,
That's
she
no
can get it
problem,
to me.
Mr. Chair, because what I'm in our tracking document, we're showing what's reflected in the Pikes Peak Transportation Improvement Program. And
Okay.
so just let me do a little internal reconciliation also with Danelle, and then we can send that out.
Okay. Yeah, if you can do that, that'll save everybody else's time. Gary, I think you're online now.
Yep, I don't know
Okay,
what
go-
happened there. My
go ahead,
question is
please.
for FY 29, does the Pueblo MPO have any funding?
It does. And also let me pull up that spreadsheet. So just cue the Jeopardy music, right? That, the Pueblo funding. So let's see here, our RPP funding sheet. I
Jared.
should have been more prepared. So scrolling down to the Pueblo, oh gosh darn it, to the Pueblo area, which is just after you all in 2029, alphabetically. Let's see here. The planned funding is $1.8 million specifically for our I-25A. What it lists is Pueblo safety improvements, but we are programming that towards the ongoing, just awarded, and I want to say just started this week, US 50B, which is, gosh, exit 100 Bravo here in Pueblo. It's 50 East if you were headed to Lamar. We're completely reconstructing that interchange, and that 1.8 million is going towards the, I want to say 167 million that's programmed towards that project. We're reconstructing 3 bridges and building a whole new diverging diamond interchange and a pedestrian crossing of the interstate, the river, and the railroad tracks.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Well, other than a couple of curveballs, appreciate what you've done so far.
Thank you all very much. Thanks for the questions.
Okay, thank you. Danelle, do you have the next one as well?
I do. This is an update on our long-range transportation plan. And I have a couple of slides I'll get into in just a moment. So just as we talked about last month, we are kind of a little bit behind schedule in the development of our long-range transportation plan. We ran into a bit of a curveball with implementing some of the state greenhouse gas requirements or roadmap. And so we want to make sure that everyone has adequate time to really look over the chapters before we bring it back to release for public comment. At this point, we anticipate anticipate bringing the full document back to everybody in December, and then having our board release it for public comment in early January. At that point, we would have a 30-day public comment period. We'll have some open houses in that time, and then we will start bringing it back through the committees during that time to recommend for adoption. We did have some chapters in your packet. They are a rough draft. If you've looked at them and you've seen how messy they are, we're working on it. In fact, I actually hope to send out a new link to everyone on the TAC and the CAC, hopefully today, maybe Monday, to give you a cleaner version that's actually in order with all of the things that it needs to have. We actually just got some permission from MMT to include the transit and some of that information in the past couple of days. So I did put together, though, a couple of slides just to give you kind of an overview on some of the information in the LRTP. Slide, please, Jared. So this, again, is just our process slide show. We looked at this last month, but this where we are right now is in the green text. We're really wrapping up that last little bit of the greenhouse gas modeling and pushing that through the Transportation Commission and developing that draft document. And to the next slide, please. So this just is an overview of the contents of the LRTP. We have an introduction, a process and engagement section that just kind of talks about how we've engaged the public, what the overall LRTP process is, and how that fits into other things we do here at PPACG. We have a system performance chapter that talks about where we are in relation to the state targets that are set on an annual and biannual basis. We have a transportation network section, which really gives kind of an overview of existing conditions within the region. The planning considerations talks about a lot of things that we need to be aware of when we're planning new projects, when our jurisdictions are looking at moving things forward in the region. A regional forecast. Actually, these next couple of chapters have slides that we'll talk a little bit more. But then finally, we have the appendices down there at the bottom. And I know that a lot of times the appendices are add-ons, are references, those kinds of things. But we really wanted to point out that the full regional transit plan and the full specialized transportation or human services plan will both be included as appendices in our LRTP, so that when we go out for public comment, those will also be going out for public comment. We're doing it all together with MMT so that it's a little bit less confusing for the public and for our committees to have it all at once versus trying to do them concurrently. Slide, please, Jared. So this just talks a little bit about what our transportation network includes, and then some of those planning considerations that I had mentioned. So we're taking a look at safety, security. We have some discussion of the military and that influence on our transportation network. We held a federal lands access workshop with FHWA, so they're preparing some information for us. We talk about the environment, impacts to the environment, impacts of transportation on public health, a little bit about equity. We also have an appendix specifically talking about the analysis of the projects and equity in the region. And then we also talk a little bit about emerging technology and how that can influence the network in the future. And including all of these kinds of things is important, in part because it gives the jurisdictions a little bit of information to use in their planning, in their grant applications, things like that. and also, for the public as well. Next slide, please. So our regional forecast, just as an overview, we're projecting in 2050 that we'll have just over 1 million people in the MPO region. We'll have 507,000 jobs and about 400,000 occupied housing units. And then that map to the left is actually just a snapshot of how our population is projected in the year 2050. And this again will be in the full document that I will send out to everybody. But wanted to include it just to give you an idea of what we're looking at in there. Next slide. And then our implementation plan and our fiscal plan. I know that everybody had a chance to look at our financial plan last fall and last winter. It was approved by our board. But basically, the LRTP as a whole is looking at about $5.5 billion in projects between 2025 and 2050. There's 234 projects in there. And then there's a graph here of projects by type. What we did was take every project and gave it a primary type based on the characteristics of the project. We also gave it a secondary type based on if it had characteristics that would qualify for a second type. And so we can see here kind of the majority of, or maybe not the majority of projects, but the category with the most projects is safety improvements. We have quite a lot of bicycle and pedestrian projects in this LRTP, lots of roadway operational improvements. So this breakdown is also in that chapter 8 of the document, along with the full list of those 234 projects. So just as an overview, I think that's the last slide. But if anybody has any questions, or if you would like more information, if you take a look at the document, and you have things you'd like to talk about, please give me a call. Please shoot me an email. We're happy to answer any questions that we can, or just sit down and try to explain things if we can as well.
Is water quality stormwater? Is it?
There's one water quality. Yes, it's a stormwater project. It's an El Paso County project associated with their Acres road location.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm just wondering, maybe it's in the document, I'm not finding it. Who are all the different stakeholders that come together to help build this plan?
Sure, absolutely. So our metropolitan planning organization region basically spans up to Monument Palmer Lake. We include Woodland Park, Green Mountain Falls, Manitou Springs, Colorado Springs. Not all of El Paso County, but a good portion of El Paso County. Am I forgetting any of our jurisdictions? Fountain, of course, Fountain, heavily involved. And then we also have included all of the military installations. We've had discussions with FHWA, with FTA, Mountain Metro, Transportation, or Transit. We've also tried to reach out to, we've worked heavily with CDOT. We've tried to reach out to various other stakeholders that we can pull in. We've also had assembled a regional transportation plan advisory committee. We call it the Rat Pack. You guys might be involved in that. We've met 4 times now. We'll have a 5th meeting early December. So we're trying to pull in a variety of people, but the bulk of the plan is really based on existing plans from, say, Connect COS, existing plans from the jurisdictions.
And from the,
I do not, but I can send that out.
I was going to say I've attended from the CAC.
Mhm.
So,
Thank you for that overview. There's so much in this, right? I'm like, this is a lot of work and collaboration to get to this point. So
kept the nail busy.
It has. And to that point, we've specifically on that regional forecasting work, we've worked really closely to try to work with the planning departments of all of our jurisdictions to make it as accurate as we can by focusing on what they see coming down the line in terms of development and things like that. So hopefully it's a really useful document, and we're kind of actually making that portion at least kind of a living project where we're moving forward with regular updates the jurisdictions.
Danelle, Chris has a question.
Hi,
Chris?
Danelle. Thank you. Hi, Danelle. Would you please spend a little time explaining what avenues and methods of gathering public comment you are hoping to have start up in the first quarter?
Yes, absolutely. So we will have a 30-day public comment period, as I mentioned. What we're planning to do right now is have 4 open houses. So we'll have a main open house here at PPACG. It will probably be in the evening time so that we can hopefully capture folks who may not be able to come during the day. We also anticipate having 3 additional smaller open houses spread around the region. That's our hope. We also plan to have a virtual open house. So we'll have some stuff online so that people can go view some of our slides or our poster boards there and have access to the same comment card that anybody who is coming in person would have. We'll also do some advertisement in the Gazette, and I would have to chat with John and Jared about anything else that we're doing in terms of social media and that kind of thing. But if you have specific recommendations and you'd like to send those along, that's actually something that we're going to discuss with our Rat Pack in early December, is trying to get some recommendations on how do we reach people better.
I think that's a great idea, and I will put my thoughts to that. And then the one thing I would encourage you is, as soon as you have any dates and venues set up, let us know so we can tell our folks.
Yes, absolutely. That would be wonderful.
Thank you, Danelle.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Hate to see Danelle get off this easy.
I know, right?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, we're moving too fast today. On member entity announcements, there is one that I would like to do on behalf of Welling. Since Welling couldn't get here, he wanted to leave a message for Bill Bold, and I will read what he wrote. I just want to thank you for your effort and support of PPACG CAC. I appreciate your dedication, along with the rest of us volunteers on the CAC. I will not be in attendance as a revised date today, and I won't go into detail on these surgeries. You ask great questions, have good attention to detail. You're a credit to your government sponsor. I hope to see you involved again in the CAC or other government citizen volunteer efforts. You will be missed well. And I don't know if you have any comments, Bill, but this is from Welling Clark. And I echo the sentiment. We appreciate everything you've done. Any other questions or comments if Bill doesn't want to say anything? I hate to end us so early. John, do you have anything? Okay. Upcoming meeting schedule. December will be modified as this month was too. I believe you all received a copy of that from Danelle. So, and Jared, that'll be virtual as well as in the building here. Okay. Any other comments, questions? If not, we're adjourned today. Thank you.
Thank you.